Murder, She Watched contains adult themes and adult language. Listener discretion is advised. Murder, She Watched is for entertainment purposes only. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Murder, She Watched, the podcast where we solve murders from our couch. My name is Amye Archer. I'm your host. Here today with my partner in crime, Kyla.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Buried in snow like we were just talking about.
Yeah, we're recording this early. We're recording this on January 25th. And we are, like I told you, Kyla, we have 11 inches. We're supposed to get 12 more over the next few hours.
I think we're at like 6 or 7 right now, and it's not slowing down at all. So
no, it is a winter. I can't talk. I just have a stroke on air. Winter wonderland.
It's awful.
God. I've been talking a lot. I've recorded like 4 or 5 podcasts in the last day, and I'm just like,
your mouth is like it's numb now.
Yeah, I was telling Kyla before we started recording that by the time you guys hear this, it will already have been released. But I'm watching that Handsome Devil Charming Killer thing with Wade Wilson, and I'm sending like warning texts to my children. Like, if you see a guy who looks like this, you may, if you know what's in the dog is in the pups, you may have a little bit of like, I want to go towards that. Do not.
I know
go
it's
away. Go away.
And what is true crime for us all if it's not cautionary tales, right?
Oh my God, 100%.
Life lessons. I know. That's why when people who aren't into it question it, I always say it cautionary tales.
Yeah,
growing
just a bunch of ladies of a certain age watching how to not get murdered.
Yes.
And how to keep our kids from getting murdered.
100%. Watching America's Most Wanted on Saturday nights. I'm not kidding you. That like shaped part of my personality.
I get that.
John Walsh.
Yeah. My mother's boyfriend, as we all know.
Oh, and I have a funny story I have to share with you and the Couch Detectives.
Okay.
So, when we were talking about how we were not innocent 14-year-olds sneaking out when we were talking about Elizabeth Smart, the go bag, okay? So my mom had texted me when she watched that episode and was like, "You little shit." But then they didn't know. So a couple days later, I was on the phone with my parents because I usually call them on my drive home from work just to touch base and stuff. And they had me on speakerphone while they were eating dinner. And they were like, "We want to talk about the go bag. We have questions." So here I am, I'm like, oh. So I told them everything. My mom was like, "Oh my God." She was so pissed.
We had a moment like that. I want to say I was living in Clark Summit, so I was maybe 22.
Okay.
Where we had like my sister and I went to a bar with my mother for like one of the first times.
Oh, that'd be
fun. And just got a little drunk and spilled everying. Told her everything. And she was literally like, "I need you guys to," because I mean,
was she getting mad?
It was dark.
Right. I know. I've had those moments where I've told them things. They're like, "We didn't need to know that."
Yeah.
Oops.
So I want to tell everyone up front. Trigger warnings all over this documentary. This documentary is very dark, and it will take you into suicidal ideation in a way that you may not quite be prepared for.
It's very intense. It's almost exclusively what they talk about. So if you're sensitive to it at all.
Yeah. If you're struggling, I will remind everyone that 988 is the suicide and crisis hotline. You can text, you can call 24/7. You're not alone. There's a bunch of resources out there for you. But I will tell you, if you're struggling, I would skip this episode and not watch the documentary.
Absolutely.
Honestly. And you're not offending us. We still love you, and we'll pick you up next time.
100%. This is a very sensitive topic.
It's very hard. Like, so it's 2 episodes. It's I Love You Now Die, the Commonwealth V Michelle Carter. It's on HBO Max. I think it aired in I don't have that. Was it 2022?
Yeah, it's within the past like 5 years, I think.
Okay, let me look that up.
Yeah.
It aired, let me see. 2019.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, earlier than we thought.
So I said to Timmy, it's 2 episodes. And I said, I have to watch this for the podcast. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay. And Timmy's not a big true crime person.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like, okay, I'll watch it with you. Halfway through, he turned to me and he's like, what are we watching? Like, this is way darker than I anticipated.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Mitchell watched a little bit of it with me too, actually, and he doesn't usually. So that's funny that you guys.
Timmy out on this one. He's like, nope, I got to be out from this. Like, it's dark.
It's really dark and it's just so sad, and for multiple reasons it's sad, and there's so many complicated layers to this across the board.
It's interesting too because I did not watch this when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I didn't watch it just because I thought, probably doesn't look very good or something like that. Like,
Yeah. No, I get it.
But now I'm like, I can't remember that long ago, but did I not watch it because I heard it was dark? I don't know.
And that's fair. And that could be, you could have been warned,
All right, guys. So let's get into it because I have 10 pages of notes. Kyla, I'm sure you have a lot of information.
I do.
I spent the better part of yesterday and today reading a lot of those text messages.
You and me both. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to talking to you about those text messages and really discussing them because they are dynamic.
I will say that I feel that this documentary, if you're in a good place to watch it, is important because I think it really opens a window into teenage girls and possibly teen boys too. Like, I don't really, know a lot about teen boys.
I totally agree with you.
But I related so hard to some of those text messages coming from her. Oh, and I'll explain that later. Don't think I'm a monster right now.
No,
I will give context around that.
Yeah, right. So there's parts too that I was like, oh, it just hits you in your heart because we've all been through some of this.
And I will say, I think the series was well done. It was produced by Erin Lee Carr. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because she created the scripted Murdoch show that we're doing.
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too.
I like the way she
did many of the docs that we do here.
Yes.
Yeah. I really liked how, and I don't know if you agree with this, but at the end of episode 1, I'm like, oh my God, she has to go to jail. She is a monster. Da, 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 da. By the end of episode 2, I'm like,
I know.
They presented it very well.
It's so well presented. And I like how they call it the prosecution and the defense. It was it was very well done. And yes, your feelings go all over the place about Michelle in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, and just the people involved. And I feel like everybody's really transparent. Nobody's trying to hide anything with his family when they're talking to them. They're all very vulnerable and honest about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah,
I do too.
First of all, can we just get this out of the way? They all look like Kennedys. The dads.
Yes.
They all look like miniature JFKs from the 60s. Like when he had that hairstyle, they all look exactly like.
Same face.
Yes.
When they were showing the crowd at one point, it has to be
a twin?
Conrad Jr.'s brother. Yeah, at minimum. They are like carbon copies of each
other.
They
look like twins. They have to be twins.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Strong genetics.
Yeah. So Michelle Carter and Conrad Roy fell in love in 2012. This is the opening screen. They lived an hour away from one another, met no more than 5 times, but they exchanged thousands of text messages over 2 years. This is their story. So one thing I did love about this documentary, and, again, if you can handle it, I recommend watching it because I didn't get, verbatim all the texts that go back and forth.
There's a lot of reading.
There's a lot of reading, but there's also, they play a lot with silence, which I thought was really interesting. It's very well done.
It is. And I'm no cinema expert, and this sounds like, but the scoring was really well done.
I agree.
It makes so much of a difference. It just was totally so well done.
Yeah. So July 12th, 2014, we're in Mattapoisett, Massachusetts.
Good job.
And we see a text exchange in which Conrad Roy and Michelle Carter are telling one another they love each other. And Conrad is expressing that he's in so much pain. And Michelle is responding, then I think it's time to do it. It's normal to be scared. I mean, you're about to die.
That is a hell of an introduction to the
Yeah.
documentary.
Yeah. So on July 13th, 2014, Conrad Roy III, they call him C3. Everything in me wants to say C3PO, but I'm not going to do that.
Good, fight that urge.
Conrad's truck is found in a Kmart parking lot. He has died by suicide. He had a fuel pump running. He was 18 years old.
It's heartbreaking.
The first 15 to 20 minutes of episode 1 are really dedicated to his family, Lynn, and the dad is Conrad as well.
Yeah, and Co. They all call him Co.
Co. And it's their recollection of that day. And it's really, really sad.
It's awful.
Lynn looks broken.
Doesn't she? She just looks like everything is just out of her.
And at this point, I'm like in a blind rage against Michelle Carter at this point in the documentary.
Absolutely.
Conrad left a note full of suicide letters for his family, and it included his passwords, his passcode for his phone, his password for his computer,
bank information. He left everything.
It's a lot. So there are detectives at the scene, and basically, in an effort to maybe provide the family with some answers, but also I think out of genuine curiosity why this kid did this, they confiscate his phone. And they get into it and they find a thread with Michelle Carter, and wow, these texts are something.
When you're just opening up a text thread like that and you start scrolling, you would be mind blown. I mean, I know these are detectives, but you would just so not be expecting to see something like that.
No, we see her giving him instruction as to how to die. Tell your family you're going to the store. Stop overthinking this. And then we see him having doubts, and she's coaching him through those doubts.
That is one of the hardest parts of their conversations, right? Is that aspect of it. Ugh.
They interview her. They go to her high school. She's 17. They go to her high school. They interview her. I have a real problem with cops talking to kids without lawyers or parents present.
I do too.
Real problem. The high
too.
school should have said, no, you cannot talk to her until we get her mother or father on the phone.
I was just going to say, can you believe the school allowed that?
No. Nope.
That's crazy.
And I feel that way, blanket statement over all children.
Yeah.
Whether or not she's guilty or not, I feel that way all the time.
I agree.
I know my kids and some of the stupid shit they would say. And
and you're not thinking. They're not. No, I would have been absolutely terrified if a detective comes and pulls me out of class and starts asking me questions. I'm with you.
So they extract her phone. They split. First they talk to her, and she kind of seems confused. She's like,
"Yes,
yeah, I talked to him," but she's not telling them that they were texting. She's very much downplaying it. That's a good term. Yes.
Yeah.
And so they end up saying, we have a search warrant for your phone, and we're taking it. And she's like, "You are?" She's very confused.
Yeah, you can tell she doesn't know, and I feel like the hesitation there. You can tell she's like, can you take my phone? You know what I mean?
So they charge her with involuntary manslaughter, which is causing someone's death by wanton and reckless behavior. The DA is reading the text to the judge, and it's wild. There's a lot of do it now.
The demand.
She told him he was strong enough to do it. Do it. And, I'm not reading a lot of them, but there's a lot.
There's so many.
And then we have Nancy Grace.
Doesn't she pop up everywhere?
What is that puss on her face? Hold on. Back it up, Liz. Hold everything. What is that puss on her face? I'm like, oh, dear God, please.
You nailed that.
Thank you.
That is right up there with Michael Peterson. That was a flawless Nancy Grace. I know Ace does his, but
Ace does a really, really good one. Ace Fanning,
that was pretty damn good, Amy. I'm impressed.
So the most damning thing that has happened with this case, and this is something that even though I'm not familiar with this case, I had heard in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Is that he got scared and got out of the truck, and she told him to get back in.
That was the headline. It was everywhere.
Yep. So now, I don't know how I feel about this, but Conrad has a voice in this documentary. Because we see his video, and I'm not saying I'm not making a judgment as to whether or not it should have been included. I'm just saying part of it felt eerie but
It's
also part of it felt really sad.
yes, and his diaries, they were like I felt like those were like video diaries. I don't know what
Yeah,
they
they
were,
were.
but it felt voyeuristic to me a little bit, like I shouldn't
Yeah,
have seen it.
felt invasive a little bit.
Yes, like I should have looked away. I don't know. I get it. And I'm not like you said, I'm not judging
Yeah, me
family or
either.
anybody for
Mm-mm.
putting that in there, but yeah, as someone who doesn't know him, I felt like, "Oh, I shouldn't see that."
I agree with you. That was my instinct. And then I'm like, well, if this girl is charged with murdering him, though,
Right.
we need everything to come out. But I don't know if
Mhm.
it needs to come out publicly.
Yeah,
But you do have to sort of be cognizant of, this is also being tried in the public eye. So you have to,
public record
yeah.
and
Yep.
all of no, I totally get it.
So we meet his grandfather, Conrad Roy, the original
Oh.
recipe. Don't give him an O because there's a lot of evidence on Reddit and stuff that he's a monster
Oh,
to his
shit.
sons and stuff. Yeah. He appears
Oh.
cute.
Damn it.
And
You know, I'm a softie for a grandpa.
I know, and he cries, and I felt the same way. I have it here. This is so cute because he cries. Remember when C3 would go on his little tugboat with him? But the
Yes, and
more I
hold
went
him.
down the Reddit threads here, the less I
Okay, well,
felt
I'm
okay about that family,
very
the father side.
excited for you to fill me in on this because I didn't see any of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So the family has a real Kennedy vibe. Like I said, they live on the coast. They're
Oh,
fishermen. They all look
oh,
like JFK. It's wild.
the accents too
Yes.
are so fun. I
The amount of katas in
ca
this, Michelle
oh,
Carter.
some of
Mhm.
the one defense attorney, his
Mhm.
accent
Michelle
is I
Carter.
yeah, I had
Mhm.
to fight the urge to talk all weekend like this.
Yeah. So we learned that the parents had gotten divorced, and Lynn says every child has difficulty during their parents' divorce. And they got divorced, I believe, when Conrad was in high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dad says it did start to affect his schooling, and we tried to get him help. And dad is crying because he's like,
Yeah.
C3 really had difficulties fitting in at school. I'm just going to call Conrad Roy the third Conrad, and I'll
Okay.
call his dad and his grandpa. Okay.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Because I hate C3. It's a weird
It
thing. It
doesn't
feels
have
too
yeah,
familiar for me to call him that.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have little JFK. Little JFK says he like cries remembering that kids didn't want to sit with Conrad at school.
Oh.
Like it's really sad. If you're a parent and you've had a child who
Mhm.
had difficulty fitting in, which I later on when we get into her not fitting into the friend group, that really hit me because my
Mm.
daughters kind of went through that.
Oh,
It's tough.
it is,
It's
and
tough.
you can't fix it,
You can't fix it.
and
Mm-mm.
that's the hardest thing. Oh.
Yeah. So Lynn, Conrad's mom, she does what you'd expect. She
Mhm.
regrets not seeing
Mhm.
things. Yeah,
You know,
typical mother's
everybody's gonna
regret.
do that.
Yeah.
You're gonna look
Yep.
back and question everything, of course.
Little JFK here, dad says, Conrad did seem to be doing better in recent weeks. Like he had
Mhm.
gotten his captain's license. Everybody was real
Yeah, and he was
positive that
acting
he was on a good path.
mhm, he wasn't presenting as depressed as he had been in the past, and they were all feeling positive.
Yeah. So the producers asked dad what caused Conrad's death. And he says, I would say Michelle Carter.
Michelle Carter.
Hmm. So they meet in Florida.
Mhm.
Michelle and Conrad met in Florida while visiting relatives.
Yeah.
And Michelle's parents were friends with the family. They had family
Yeah,
friends
yeah, they
long
made
down the line. Yeah.
connections down the
Yeah.
line for sure.
And they very much like wedding crashers. They go for a little bike ride and they fall in
Mhm.
love.
I know, right? It was very, like Nicholas Sparks, if you will.
Yes. Yes. So Michelle's attorneys are trying to appeal this indictment. And we
Mhm.
see them before a higher court in
This was
Massachusetts.
fascinating.
Fascinating.
Oh my god, this was fascinating.
And Joseph Cataldo is her defense attorney, and
Mhm.
I thought he was great. I
Yes.
thought
I
her he
mhm.
did a great service by her. Like, he gave her a very passionate and very thorough defense.
I would agree with that completely, and
Mhm.
I mean, what a tough spot. He's in an unprecedented situation,
Tough
can you
spot.
imagine? And all the media attention. Yeah, I know yeah, I agree.
And he argues that there is no law at that time
Mhm.
against encouraging suicide in Massachusetts. And he says it may be reprehensible, it may be bad, but it is not illegal. And your speech alone over a phone cannot equal a murder charge.
Mhm.
And he's arguing, First Amendment, and he's arguing
like what is this doing? I think he's trying to kind of there's this approach from this, and you see it discussed in here a little bit, like, if we do this, what can come from this, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's a
what does
slippery
this
slope.
it's a
It's a
slippery
dangerous
slope.
precedent. Mhm.
Yes, and, there's people who speak of censorship in some of this when you read about it
Mhm.
online. I don't think they
Mhm.
threw that word around in this documentary, but that
Yeah.
was a lot of the discussion about it is, how does this infringe on our rights and our privacy and
Yeah.
everything?
Because whether you like it or not, the First
Mhm.
Amendment, in my opinion, is the most important amendment. We have free
Oh,
speech in this country.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But there are parameters around that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's where things get murky and complicated,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I can't imagine, and that's why watching these judges debate this with these attorneys in real time, it was so interesting.
And here's the problem with it. So later we decide, or we hear that, so they deny the appeal, right?
Mhm,
Her
mhm.
lawyer, by the way, also argues she was 40 miles away on a phone.
Yeah,
Conrad could have just hung up,
mhm.
but then you get into the whole coercive control and stuff like that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like the you could leave an abusive marriage argument, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and, when they're talking to the judges, he compares it to, her pushing him off of a bridge or
Mhm.
being there physically
Mhm.
to kind of force him to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Parallels they were trying to make.
It's almost like there's a little bit of a parallel between this and Elizabeth Smart, right? Like how many
Mhm.
people said, well, when what's his name was away from her, the
Why didn't
captor was away from her,
Mitchell, mhm.
she could have run away. But
Yeah,
like no, he had coercive control over her.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly that, yes, it's not just a black and white situation.
Yeah. So June 15th, 2017, the trial begins.
Mm.
Jesse Barron is one of the best voices in this documentary. The reporter
Right?
from Esquire, he's
I liked
fantastic.
him a lot, and I
I
really
loved him.
he he approached both sides, he was not
Mm-mm.
biased, I
I
felt, like,
agree.
he really was I liked him a lot.
Well, it was kind of funny, right? Because everybody else who's dealing with this case, like the psychiatrist they bring in, the
Uh-huh.
judge, they're all
Yeah.
much older.
Yes.
And so Jesse Barron is kind of like, you get
That's
the
a really
sense
good
that he
point,
might be
Amy.
a millennial. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
And he's
sure.
kind of like
Mhm.
breaking this down into modern framing.
And saying some of the quiet part out loud, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
He's the one that will say, like, "This is fucked," right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's acknowledging some of that during this. Yeah, that's super good point.
He says, on the first day of trial, we're there and we see Michelle.
Mm,
And she's dressed really nice. She has this
yeah.
weird star quality about her. She was
Yeah.
thin, she was blonde, she was tanning booth tan, he says.
Yeah, tanning booth tan.
And I just wrote, I will for the life of me never understand the choice of these eyebrows. I will never understand it.
I don't it's jarring, isn't it? It's just
It's jarring.
it's
It's jarring.
very distracting.
Of all the things I know I could talk about, I
And
just had to dedicate a minute of space to that.
it's kind of, as Cody Brown would say, it's the white elephant in the room.
There you go.
There
Yes.
we go.
So she's 20 now by the time they go to trial,
Mhm.
and they're waiving their right to a jury trial. So this is what I was going to say earlier about the higher court is
Yeah.
this case is so emotionally charged. If you get one parent on that jury,
Oh,
she's fucked.
yeah. Yeah, that
So
jury
this was smart.
this was smart, absolutely, and I don't know that you would get a I feel like you would have a really good chance for a hung jury on this because this is
Mm,
so complicated, and
yeah.
that's I don't know, everybody's going to have personal stakes in this no matter who you are.
I think, I said to Timmy at the time, I'm like, this is weird. You don't see this done a lot where you waive your right to a
Oh.
jury trial.
Mhm.
But it makes sense because you really
Yes.
need someone who upholds the law
Yes.
before any kind of emotion.
Yes. No, I totally understood when he was explaining it. Yeah, that made sense. It's
Mhm,
so complicated, and it made me think of, back to the OJ trial when DNA evidence was brought in, and it was
mhm.
so new and over
That
people's
was
heads.
Dr. Henry Lee, right?
I think
I
so.
think it
Yeah,
was,
'cause I
yeah.
think that's when he kinda came into our
Yeah,
lives
and a lot
a
of
little bit.
people didn't understand it.
They didn't understand it. It was
Mhm.
too new, and, you look back and, DNA is kind of the ultimate holy grail of evidence in a lot of people's minds, so it's just so funny when you think back to that, how
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
different. It just made me think of that.
So Lynn is on the stand now, and we see text messages between Michelle and her in the
Mhm,
aftermath of Conrad's death.
mhm.
And there are also texts to Conrad's sister. Like Michelle is counseling the family right now, and it feels weird.
It feels very weird, and she
Mhm.
was doing it really quickly, and they haven't gotten to too much of this yet, but they did not know her, and
No, no.
I would be so off put by this, Amy.
I know.
I don't even know, what I would have done.
She actually asks to have some of the ashes. No, no,
So wildly
no.
inappropriate.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Wildly inappropriate.
So Michelle Carter is from Plainville, Massachusetts, and
Mhm.
there is a scripted show of this, The Girl from Plainville,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
I have not watched.
I have watched, it's interesting. Um,
Okay.
there's a lot of cringe awkwardness in that. I know some people don't like that in a show.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
sensitive to that secondhand embarrassment, I would not recommend because it's painful at parts. Elv
Do they go into his family at all?
Oh, yeah. I think you would like it.
Okay.
Chloe Sevigny plays his mom, and
I
she does
did
a
read that and
fabulous
I love
job.
her.
Yeah,
Love
and
her.
Elle Fanning plays Michelle, and she does a good job, but
Is that
oh,
Dakota Fanning's sister?
yes.
Child? Okay. I don't
Yes.
know how old I am anymore.
I
Is
know, right?
Dakota Fanning
Dakota
on
Fanning's
Fearless
like
Kids?
12, 38. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So Timmy will do that. We'll see somebody in like a show and he'll be like, "Oh, is that Jennifer Aniston?" I'm like, 30 years ago. Yeah, like Jennifer Aniston still doesn't look like that.
Isn't that true? Oh my god, that's so funny.
So we see so she's a girl from Plainville, and we see a lot of people had nice things to say about her. She was a good student, she was polite, but we
Yeah,
see through her text messages that she really struggled to fit in with friend groups. And
bad.
this hit hard because my girls, both of them at different times, I have, if you guys don't know, twin girls, at different times, they
Mhm.
would both struggle a lot. And we
Yeah,
moved to an area where everybody kind of knew everybody and grew up together. And we didn't come till like third or fourth grade. So my
mm,
girls weren't really in that. And
right.
it's a whole thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Growing up in a community like that, I went to school with the same people from kindergarten on, and I remember feeling bad for kids that moved in, like, middle school.
And I think a lot of people, at least I'm speaking as a Gen Xer here, I don't think this is true now. But I think the idea that you could be quote unquote a beautiful person, like you could be traditionally pretty, you could be a
Mhm.
good student, you could come from a upper class family. Like why would you have trouble fitting in? Like that doesn't compute in our heads, but
Yeah, for sure.
it can happen to anyone.
I totally would agree
Anyone.
with that. I totally would agree with that because I'm, like, an older millennial,
Yeah.
and, I would say I was a teenager and young adult in the early 2000s. That toxic
Mhm.
body image culture was
Yeah.
really bad, and there was a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, how could you have problems if you're pretty and your family has money? Things like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we didn't because people weren't talking about mental health then either.
Right. 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 Right.
And, addressing teenage depression, anxiety, it wasn't
Mhm.
something that, parents really touched in with.
No.
Not for everybody, I'm not speaking for
Yeah.
everybody, but,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, it just wasn't
Well,
something we talked about.
and you and I come from not very progressive areas.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we see the prosecution now talking about how desperate Michelle was.
Oh,
We
this
see the girls testifying to this fact. It's hard to watch.
that was hard.
Mhm.
I mean, Michelle, I can understand why there would be a lot of people who have no sympathy for Michelle, but
Yeah.
the human and that is painful for someone to have to hear people say on a
And
stand that they didn't really like them.
yeah, and some of the texts are like, "Can we hang?" You see a lot of
Oh.
Michelle saying, "Can we hang out? Can we hang out?" And these girls are just blowing her off,
They're
clearly.
yeah, and,
Mhm.
you see she would then incessantly text,
Yeah,
like, they're
and
not
like walls
responding.
of text.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then, like, "Are you mad at me? Why do you hate me?" And
Mhm.
then they're
It's
like,
tough.
And then they're not even that nice in their responses
Mm-mm.
sometimes, and it's just like, "Oh, oh."
So the prosecution describes, and this is an important point, they
Mhm,
describe what they call a dry run. They
mhm.
say 2 days before Conrad died, Michelle was texting her friends that he was missing and she was worried that he had hurt himself.
Yeah.
And they were consoling her. But
Mhm.
he wasn't missing. She
No,
was talking to him too.
yeah, she was actively texting with him at that
Mhm.
time, and
Talking
that's
to him to go get the generator
this is
and how to work it.
this is huge. This is a
Yes.
huge piece in this case.
Yeah, she's literally saying, "I think if you turn the generator up to this amount, it will knock you out in like, she's telling him how to take his own life.
While texting her friends, "Oh my gosh, we don't know where he's at. I'm so worried."
Mhm,
I
mhm.
mean, that's
Yeah.
that's that's a lot right there.
Yep. So now she's texting her friends like, "Can we do something tonight to get my mind off of
Mhm.
it?" And it's just it's dark.
It's dark.
So the prosecution argues that that was her way of seeing like, can I get my friend's attention if I'm it's almost like a Munchausen by proxy almost.
Yes,
Like,
it's
can I get my needs for attention filled through someone else's pain?
yes, and I
It's weird.
think it's like a point of desperation.
Mhm.
Like, she's
Mhm.
been trying everything, and it's almost like, "Well,
Mhm.
what about this?"
Yeah. Yeah. So, it worked, the prosecution
Mhm.
argues. Like in the days following Conrad's suicide, she is like a grieving widow,
Yeah,
essentially.
and,
And her friends rally around her.
they are coming to her house, they're bringing her things, and, this is somebody who is constantly begging people to hang out with her,
Mhm.
and
She
with
even
no response, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
oh, no, you're okay. It's just,
Yeah.
like, this is everything she's been wanting for so
Yeah.
long.
At the expense of his life.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that is just it's just mind-boggling.
At this point, just to check
Yeah,
in with past Amy when I was watching this,
yeah.
I was like, burn it all down. This bitch gets nothing. I was
Mhm.
looking at it very emotionally from the point of view of a parent.
How yeah, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, I think of my son, if somebody did this to him and made him feel this way and I had no
Mhm.
idea how
Mm.
any parent's going to feel that way.
How many parents out there, have dealt with bullying
Oh,
and you
absolutely.
want to just burn the world down to protect your child?
Yes.
Mhm, and
Yes.
I was feeling some of that coming up
Oh,
in
that
this. I was
that
like,
fiery rage that
"Oh."
just yeah,
Yes,
totally.
yes.
We've yep.
So, it's interesting because oh, and at one point, I forgot to mention this, she creates a fundraiser called Homers for Conrad,
Oh,
and she does it in Plainville, and his family's like, "Why wouldn't it be in Mattapoisett?"
yes.
And that's where he's from, and these towns are like an hour away
They're
from
an
each other,
hour
and she's like,
apart.
"Sorry, can't help you," and then she's, like, at the thing, getting her picture taken and stuff. It's wild.
It's wild. I
Mhm.
have yeah, a lot of feelings about that.
So, Jesse Barron says, and this speaks to my harsh reaction of saying, like, calling her a bitch and da 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 da.
Yeah.
He says, this was very purposely portrayed like this in the media because it confirms the stereotypes that people have of teenage girls that they're coercive and they're manipulative.
Was that not just mind-blowing out of
And
Jesse Barron's
she
mouth?
was portrayed as a black widow, a sociopath, and a monster. And I'm like, yes. And here I am ashamed of myself because I'm falling into this narrative.
Totally, totally. I thought the same thing, Amy. I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, it worked on me."
But I think everybody's going to be surprised where I land on this
Yeah.
because I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
Kind of in the
this is
middle.
not one that I have really I can't I'm thankful I wasn't on this jury is what I
Same.
am gonna say
Same.
because
Yep.
I don't know what I would do.
Yep.
I'm really excited to debate and break this down.
So we meet Dr. Peter, I call this guy.
Mm,
And he is an older man.
mhm.
He's probably at least in his 70s at this point, right?
I
He's
would
an older gentleman.
yes, yes.
And he says, we can all agree what she did is scary and terrible.
Mhm,
But the case comes down to why she did it.
mhm.
So Michelle has struggled with her mental health her whole life.
Yes.
Dr. Peter says she had an eating disorder. She had low self esteem, and eating disorders by nature isolate you. because you have
Of
to
course.
hide, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Then she started self-harming by cutting, and
Yeah,
you have to hide that too. So it's
more isolate.
further isolates.
Yeah.
And we see her, he says, struggling with the sobriety around her cutting. And she's texting the group of girls, and they're seemingly supportive, but like it's nothing beyond a very surface level support.
Yes, she's not getting a deep connection from anybody. And it
Mm-mm.
and she it alludes in messages later that she doesn't really get that from her parents either,
No.
and she's just so desperately wanting somebody to just ask her questions first and connect with her, and it's ugh.
And Dr. Peter says she's so desperate and needy.
Mhm.
It's a hole no one can fill.
Yeah.
And then he says, and boy, if this isn't the truth, he said, girls in high school destroy each other.
Oh my god, truer
Yeah.
words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's where we kind of leave episode 1, and you're like,
Mhm.
again, wow, she must burn for this. Like, this is horrible. Jail sentence of 30 years. I'm calling
Yep.
for it.
Yep.
I'm like, rah, 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 leading
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
team
you're
here.
the witch hunt there, right?
Yep. Episode 2, though, picks up with Conrad's story
Mhm.
and his decisions and his choices.
Yes.
And it's the defense.
Oh,
So we learn more about Connor's inner life here. And we learn that he was beat up by his father at one point. So let's talk about this.
yes, and, like you and I texted the same thing to each other simultaneously about this, so
Yes, we did. Yes, we
sure
did. So apparently there was a fist fight. Cops were called. They get to the house and they end up arresting the father
Yeah.
for assault.
Yeah, and we see pictures.
Oh, yeah. And in Conrad's statement, he wrote that it was over him not putting the macaroni and cheese away.
Yeah, not putting a pan away.
And that he was pinned down and punched. And that his father's girlfriend said, I was a piece of shit.
This is a lot.
Dad says, and I wrote this verbatim.
Good.
I know what happened that night with my son, and I know I was being a parent, and I know things got out of control. We fought each other, and I'd do it again just like that. Okay.
Right.
Even if in some world you believe that,
Yeah.
do you know how this is going to come off to people, dude?
I know.
Your son, by the time this interview happens, your son is dead.
Yeah. And you're looking the camera in the eye saying, yeah, I'd do it again.
And why would you even feel that way?
I can't imagine.
It's so bizarre to me.
It is. And, there's so many conversations around discipline. I am not a spanker. I don't hit my child at all. I
mean, there's also a ton of evidence that creates extreme emotional harm.
100%.
Just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yes, there absolutely is. And especially having a child on the spectrum, that really that is absolutely something that he internalizes on a level that is different. But I can't imagine striking my child repeatedly in the face like that.
Yeah.
And just looking at the camera and saying, I was parenting.
Well, yeah. And this is, I grew up with, I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up it was a different time.
I know. Yeah, for sure.
My dad smacked us, spanked us when we were little. I mean, nothing crazy, but we would get a whack if we did something.
Yeah, same.
But I had friends whose parents were very abusive. My 2 girlfriends growing up, their parents were very abusive. My one friend had her earrings ripped out of her ears by her mother. Like, it was bad.
Oh my God. And
I'm telling you right now that I've seen kids like that overcome it. It can be overcome. Both of my friends went on to live, very healthy, productive lives. But that was in spite of that situation. Like, they were not made into better people. They had a fuck ton of trauma they had to work through first.
1,000%, Amy. 1,000%.
So my point is, like, if this interview, my point is, like, if this interview was taking place in 1987 or 1993, okay, maybe. But as a culture, I feel like we've moved at least to the point where we know it's bad, even though it's still happening to many children, unfortunately.
Yes. 100%.
We at least kind of, the narrative has shifted a little bit. So to look in the camera And to choose to say, I wouldn't do anything differently, knowing that your child has ended his life. It's just a choice.
It's a choice. That's a good way to say that. It's a choice. And I was shocked that he said it. And, I was watching his body language while he said it. And he just, there's not really hesitation. I don't know. You don't expect to see that, right?
Yeah. No hesitation.
And
it was wild.
Tough. That was tough. Wild. And it's very telling about some things. And
when I was on my Reddit threads, I read that, and I kind of grew up in a similar area. It's a very hard scrapple area, very blue collar.
Oh yeah.
What it is to be a man and a fisherman and all that. So it's not
there's a lot of that, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that influencing how people raise their kids and stuff like that. So, I mean, hey, you raise your kids however you want. I'm just sharing my own personal experience.
Yep. And, I'm from farming communities. There's a lot of that. Don't be a mew.
Yep.
But, there's a lot of that. And, it's, I don't know. It's just so complicated and heartbreaking. I don't know.
It is. Jesse Barron says, and I thought this was a good line, that these families both wanted a version of the story in which this was not their fault.
Yes. Yes. Good job, Jesse. He is just a wordsmith.
So Dr. Bregan is called to the stand. Dr. Peter is called to the stand. It's Dr. Peter Bregan, but I call him Dr. Peter. He's called to the stand, and he's going to talk about Michelle's mental state. And he says he started looking at medication. Now, both Michelle and Conrad were medicated at the time. They were both on psychiatric drugs.
Yes.
Michelle was on Prozac, and he believes that she never should have been prescribed that because she was bulimic. And so that gives a powerful effect to a drug in your system.
Right.
And there is some evidence, by her own words, that she tried to hang herself.
Yes.
After being prescribed the Prozac and being on it for a little bit.
Yes.
He concluded that the drugs were a contributing factor to Conrad's death, but not an overwhelming factor because there were other things. And I had a psychology teacher once say before, suicide is kind of like a soup. There's a lot of ingredients in there. You don't know which one makes the soup what it is because everything contributes a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I like that. That's a very good analogy. And that's a good point. There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on here.
There is a lot.
It's, he was hesitant to say it was the drugs, even though we all know there is a small percentage of people who do suffer suicidal ideation when they are on drugs like this.
Absolutely.
So it can be a side effect.
Yes.
So we see texts from Lynn, the mother, to Michelle now saying, I should have kept him away from his father's family. I believe they have blood on their hands. And that's when I went to the Reddit.
I was just going to say,
what's going on here?
Yeah.
So there's nothing specific, but a lot of people are like, there's a lot more going on with this dad side of the family.
I have so many questions.
We also learned there was a DV charge against dad from Lynn, and it was a very contentious divorce.
Yes. And you hear that a lot whenever this is discussed, that their divorce was messy. And I don't know. I was trying to find some specifics about it, but I really couldn't.
It's really unfortunate. Yeah. October 2012, Comrade's admitted to the hospital for a serious suicide attempt for a week. Yeah. Now, there are some people out there who claim that his parents, were kind of against the whole being hospitalized for mental health, and maybe the dad more so didn't really kind of take mental health seriously. And, so we don't know. We don't know.
And unfortunately, that is a problem that we have in society. People don't take it seriously.
So Dr. Peter argues that Michelle was unequipped to deal with this huge disclosure that Conrad made to her that he was going to kill himself. Conrad had attempted suicide at least 4 times.
Yeah.
He OD'd on acetaminophen. Is that how you say it? Yeah. He took so much, Lynn says, he almost needed a liver transplant. And Lynn says He promised me he wouldn't do it again, and I told him I would die if you died. Now, I want to be very clear here.
Mhm.
I don't think these parents are to blame for this death. I
Of course,
don't. I
of course,
hate doing that. I hate when I see people doing that.
of
Do you know
course.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no parent should carry
No.
that
Yeah.
on them. But parents do contribute to mental health. Let me just say that.
It's
But I'm
impossible
not
not
here
to.
to play the blame game with
No,
this.
for
I
sure.
absolutely.
But you're right, it is a contributing factor for
Sure.
everyone's mental health for the
Sure.
most part. I mean,
But in the end, it was Conrad who took his own life. It wasn't
absolutely.
his parents didn't drive him to do it, but everything kind of contributes.
Yes, and when you have especially someone who is already struggling and then all of this complicated stuff going on with his parents too, I
Mhm.
feel like you said
Mhm.
that soup analogy that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. So Dr. Peter says Conrad gave her this idea that he was going to kill himself, and all he cared about was doing it swiftly and not botching it. And so Michelle's kind of leading him into a very dark place. And it's interesting because they're communicating for 2 years.
Mhm.
For about a year and a half, she is trying to talk him out of killing himself.
Yes. It's
Always.
fascinating, isn't it?
Yes.
The beginning of their text, she is doing everything in her power to try to give him resources for help and to
Mhm.
get him to want help.
Yes, telling him she loves him, like all
Yes.
the things,
And
all
she's
the
saying, "I
things.
got help and it was good for me, you should try
Mhm.
it too." Like, she seriously is trying to be supportive and do the right thing for a while in the
She
beginning.
even invited him she went to treatment for her
Mhm.
eating disorder, she invited him to go with her.
Yes, she's like, "We can do this together, let's do it,
Yep,
it's a good
yep,
place."
yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Dr. Peter on the stand says they are both insane, maybe clinically. He says the term he uses is, quote, "She is clearly out of her mind at this point, and so is he."
Bold words from a provider.
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Her lawyer says Conrad was suicidal for a very long time, like you and I said, a
Yeah.
year and a half. She's trying to talk him out of it.
Mhm.
Dr. Peter believes, and I kind of agree with him here, that there were abusive elements to this relationship coming from Conrad.
Yes, I agree too. After reading the entire conversation like we
Yeah,
did,
you read the entire thing. I read a lot of it, but not the entire thing.
it's very toxic on both ends. He definitely was talking about this nonstop
Mhm.
and would kind of not like manipulate, but
There was
over
manipulation.
there was manipulation
There
with it,
was.
and he would, I'm like, "You're helping me, nobody can help me, you're helping me, nobody can help me," and it was this constant, almost like a cat and mouse game they played with each other.
Yes. Yes, and he also did this thing on I think it was July 9th, and he did this to her quite frequently, where he's like, "Okay, I'm doing it
Yes,
now," and
tonight's
then
the night.
ghost her
Yes.
overnight, and she's texting him like, "Oh my god, I fell
"Are you
asleep. I'm
okay?"
sorry. Are
Yep.
you okay?" And then he responds at like 11 o'clock the next morning like, "I'm fine."
And it's, "Ha, ha, ha, I'm okay."
That is emotional torture.
It absolutely is, and this went it was and they were constantly texting, you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's constant for that time frame, and you see the shifts in their dynamic and the
Mhm.
shifts in the conversation. I mean, I was just mind
Mhm.
blown reading some of
Mhm.
this.
He even told her sometimes that, "I will hate you if you tell anyone about this." And
Yes.
he's just barraging her with this, "I
Yes.
wanna die, I wanna die, I wanna die." Like, it's
Yes.
constant.
Yes, and when she tries to like, there's times there where she sends him, like, links to articles and
Mhm.
different resources, and, he's like,
For help or to help him commit suicide?
well, both, but in the
Or die by suicide,
beginning,
sorry.
she, is, like, sending him, like, ways to kind of come out of depression, and she's still trying to be like, "I understand, I've been there, I struggle too,"
Yeah.
and, she'll give him the resources, and he kind of is like, "Nothing will help me,"
Yeah.
and, yeah, it's very and then it slowly upticks. It just
Yep.
slowly gets deeper on both ends, and then which I'm sure we'll get into more of this later, but the emotions and the, like, what their relationship actually was and how, like, truly romantically involved were they,
Mhm.
that was fascinating in itself to me.
I agree. I
because they were
agree.
not on the same page
No, she
at
was
all.
so I have here that this is a huge disconnect because he's
Yeah.
basically like, I want to end my life. I hate everything. And she's like, when are we getting married? And I'm
Yes.
like, these two people are not on the same page. They're not even in the same book.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy because it'll be like, he's listing off all these reasons why he wants to die and why he's ready. And she's like, will you post about me on Twitter? And
Yes.
he's like, why? And she's like, I don't know. It would
It's
be
wild.
fun.
It's
And
wild.
it's wild. And, yeah, he'll say something and she'll be like, I love you. And he won't respond. And she'll say, tell me you love me back. Tell me you love me back. And so he will. And then she's like, thank you so much. Do you really mean it? And he's like, sure. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It's just so sad on so many levels. And it
Yes.
just was so telling about where they both were mentally at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just it's compelling. And again, it's one I would not recommend anybody read that if they are but
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
it's the Google Docs are out there.
So he actually told Michelle at one point that his mother knew about this because she saw his laptop and he had a page on his laptop that was basically like how to
Yeah.
kill yourself effectively or safely or
Yeah.
without pain or something like that. And he told Michelle, we see the text message.
Yes.
He told her that my mom saw this and said nothing.
Yeah. Well, and did you read that part in the text messages?
No, I just
Because
saw what was in the movie.
so he says a little bit more after that. He says, I got up and I stood where my mom was standing to see if she could read this screen, and she could
Mhm.
have. And I
Mhm.
need to know so much more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dr. Peter believes that Michelle had something called involuntary intoxication, which is when your neurochemistry is changed and disrupted,
Mhm.
and people start acting differently. They have impulsivity, they have impaired judgment.
Yeah.
And he believes this happened to Michelle because she was taking Prozac, then she switched to Celexa. And
Mhm.
this is around July 2nd when the narrative shifts and she begins helping him go to heaven, quote unquote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now she believes, in, according to Dr. Peter, that she can mitigate the circumstances and help him die and comfort his family afterwards. And the anger that we see, because she's starting to get frustrated. You said
Yes.
you were going to do this. Why didn't you do this? Why are you taking so long? Why are you such a meow? Stuff like
Yes.
that.
Absolutely. It's a
Mhm.
huge shift in the
Yes.
conversation. It becomes very aggressive.
Yeah. And Dr. Peter says that is a sign of it. The anger when you're in a hypomanic state.
Mhm.
Hypermanic? I forget what he said.
Yeah.
But she had finally found a way to help and to end her abuse and his torture.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
his torture towards her, his inner
His inner
torture.
torture. Yeah, his turmoil that he's
Yeah,
dealing with.
turmoil, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
So now we see text between now pay attention to this part because the whole case hinges on this.
This is fascinating.
We see text between Michelle Conrad and Sam Boardman, who was a quote unquote friend, one of those girls.
Yeah.
She tells Sam, quote, Sam, his death is my fault. Like, I honestly could have stopped him. I was on the phone with him and he got out of the car because it was working and he got scared. And I fucking told him to get back in, Sam.
I mean, that is huge, 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 huge.
So, two things are going on right now. Okay. The whole case sort of comes down to this.
Yeah.
Did she tell him to get back in the truck? I thought, and I think most of the world thinks, that this was in a text message to Conrad. It
Correct.
wasn't.
No, it was allegedly on a phone call.
Yeah. So we hear from another child and adolescent psychiatrist, Dr. Ann Glowinski, who I was happy to have her point of view in this.
Yes.
Because she says, listen, these drugs are SSRIs. They're very common. They're very safe. And involuntary intoxication isn't even really considered a real thing in our profession anymore.
Yes. It's not a medical diagnosis and it's not in the DSM-5.
Right.
That's
And
huge.
this is something, this is where I think Dr. Peter's age hurts him.
I agree completely.
Because I think that, like later they bring up Michelle's lying and doing this for attention. He's like, what?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Yeah, he gets
A
spun
teen
a little
girl
bit.
is a world all on its own. And it's
Yeah.
very hard for people to understand what it is like to live as a teenage girl.
Oh, unless you've done it, you don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
I mean,
tough.
it's very hard.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think there's any one of us that would go back and do that again.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
No, and
no.
having just raised 2 of them, I'm telling you, it didn't get better.
Oh, I
It's
can't
still
imagine.
bad.
I can't imagine. One of my
And,
coworkers is
you know,
in it with his 15-year-old right now, and oh.
everybody has their own struggles,
Of
right?
course, of course.
But there's a whole secret world of teenage girls
And
that Dr. Peter has
he
no knowledge of. No
correct.
firsthand knowledge of, I should
And
say.
we all remember being where you're going through things and you're in the thick of puberty and
Mhm,
you don't feel like anybody else has ever gone through this ever, and nobody will ever understand how you feel or can relate to it, and
mhm.
you just feel like nobody likes you or you don't fit in, you're that square peg, and
Yep.
a man that has never experienced that. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Dr. Peter is not extremely well qualified and knows his
Mhm.
shit, you know what I
For
mean?
sure.
But, like, there's a lived experience
Yeah.
element to this, I
Yes.
think,
No,
that
I
is
agree.
missing.
Yeah.
So the prosecution argues that during that time when he is claiming that Michelle is involuntarily intoxicated
Mhm.
between July 2nd and the 14th, which is when the suicide happened,
Mhm.
Michelle Conrad was going to camp, going to therapy, communicating with friends. Her therapist reported that she appeared, appropriate and
Yeah.
positive and all those
There was
things that the
nothing. Yeah,
therapist
they
looks
said well
for.
groomed. Yeah.
Yep. So how the prosecution argues, like, how would she not know right from wrong in this time? So he says, well, she thought she was doing the right thing. And we really hammer on that dry run. The
Yeah.
dry run is something really. And Dr. Peter says, this is very strange. I cannot find a rational reason for it.
I
Now, I'm going to tell you something.
yeah.
I was a teenage girl. I lied. I made up shit for attention. We all did
Of
at some point.
course. Yes.
He seems to not think that that's a possibility.
No, and his time on the witness stand was kind of rough.
Yeah.
She really gets him,
Mhm.
when I forget what she's asking me. He's like, "What?"
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like, "Ooh."
I liked him. I felt like he, really gave us a sympathetic picture of Michelle.
Yes, and I don't feel like he had malicious intent or
No, no,
anything at
no, no, no.
all. I
But
think he just
I'm like, dude, you got to think like a teenage girl. You
yes.
got to be lonely and desperate and sad and all those
Yes.
things.
And like you said, I do think unfortunately, and you see this a lot in medicine and healthcare, unfortunately, like it's not providers' fault all the time. It's just how they were trained and when they were trained. And
Yeah.
sometimes, as time gets away and you
Yeah.
get away from some of those practices,
Sure.
I mean, it's
Sure.
hard,
Yeah.
you know?
So the prosecution narrows in on texts from Michelle to Sam the night that he died, and she said, "I'm so or about wait, no, hold on. The night that Conrad dies, he's
Yeah.
dead already.
Yeah.
Okay." Michelle is sending a text to Sam Boardman, her friend,
Mhm.
saying, "I'm so stupid. I looked it up and the generator he bought emits carbon monoxide." She had planned that whole thing. She
100%.
knew it. She told him what generator to buy.
And this is where it's
This is where I'm
really
like, "Oh, girl."
yes, because
Mhm.
she's really playing a lot of sides right now, and, I'm just fascinated, and again, I know this is 2014. Technology was a big thing, but we always come back, what are we texting for, people? Like, what are we doing? Why are we texting? Why are we emailing?
My
Like,
kids never, ever talk on the phone.
oh,
It's
I know.
always texting, always, yeah.
Oh, man, like, paper trails.
So they really hammer on the fact that Michelle is not talking about this stuff to her friends, not her mom, not the authorities, not Conrad's family. It's, she really could have and should have done more is what they argue.
Mhm.
Jesse says part of the drama of this case is the adults are trying to understand a teen world.
Jesse, again,
Mhm.
Jesse. Yes,
The
it's so
biggest
true.
mystery of this whole case is not why Michelle did what she did, but what she thought she was doing. And he kind of argues that Michelle was, and you spoke to this, more delusional about the state of their relationship than Conrad was.
that is such a compelling piece of this
Mhm.
because, like, you saw she'll be, like, talking about their future children and when they're married,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
"Are you gonna do it tonight or what?" Like, it's
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
almost like they're having 2 separate conversations at the same time.
Yes.
There's, like,
Yes.
this hypothetical fairy tale world they're living in some ways,
Mhm.
and then they're having this very dark, awful conversation where they're legitimately strategizing on how he's going to do this. But then it'll be like, "I love you so much, you're the most magical
I
person
know.
I've ever" I mean, it's just the back and forth is bananas, like
And one of the digital experts they interviewed, I didn't get his name, but he brought up a really good point. He's like, when
love
you
this.
communicate by text all the time, you start to dehumanize that person on the other end of it. And you start to almost see them like just a voice in your head that's
I
with you
totally
all the time.
This was so fascinating, right? I
Mhm.
thought I
Mhm.
loved that. I thought that was so true, and it is true because, think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when chat rooms were first a thing,
Yeah.
who amongst
Yeah.
us didn't go in there and just fuck around, you know?
Yeah. There's this whole like anonymity.
Yeah.
I can never say that word.
Yeah, that word, that's
Anonymous.
anonymity.
Anonymity. Anonymity. There we go. I got
You
it.
did it, and yeah, and you're just like I remember going in there with my friends, and you just, like, say
Yeah.
stupid stuff, and you just
Yeah.
think it's funny, and because you don't really think it's a real it's a real person, but it doesn't
Yep.
feel that way, and
So now we get this weird connection to Glee and how Michelle was obsessed with Leah Michelle.
this is I was fascinated. I
I
don't
didn't
know
know anything
anything
about
about
this.
Glee.
No,
I've
me either.
never seen an episode of Glee in my life.
But Corey Monteith was
I do
Leah
remember
Michelle's partner on the show and off the show.
yes, and I kind of remember when that the
I
headlines of his
remember when he
passing
died,
and
yeah.
everything,
So
yeah.
he OD'd in a hotel room in 2013. And
Mhm.
they kill him off on the show, and it's really sad. And we see
Yeah.
Michelle starting to, in her texts, use the same language that they are using on Glee. And
That
she
was
does tell him about it too. She
yes.
says, I would be sad if you were not here anymore. And she says, I'm watching Glee, and
Mhm.
it made me realize someday you won't be here anymore. And not only are these texts coming from Glee itself, but from Leah Michelle's interviews.
Yes. She is
Verbatim, verbatim.
verbatim quoting her
Mhm.
interviews about it, and she says some of the things to her friends too, I think. I
Mhm.
forget yeah, she quotes Leah Michelle to one of her friends too later on after
Yeah,
he's
there's a
died, and
lot of it.
it's a little I mean,
There's
ooh,
also, like, she was obsessed with Fault in Our Stars, which if you know that, that's, like, the
yes.
whole, like, love to
Another tragic love
yeah, another
story.
tragic love story.
Yeah.
So, we learn about this girl, Alice, who was on a
Yeah.
travel softball team with Michelle, and Michelle is sort of, not obsessed with, but, like, consumed by
Consumed
Alice.
I think she's trying to figure out if she has feelings for Alice,
Yes.
if this is a friendship love, if this is a romantic love. I
Yeah.
mean, she's young, she doesn't know. She's curious about her sexuality a
Yep.
little bit too, and she's acknowledging that she's like,
Yeah.
"Maybe I am, I don't know."
Yeah, and Alice cut off contact with her right around the time that Michelle had met Conrad. And then
Yeah.
right around the time of Conrad's suicide, Michelle starts talking about Alice a lot more
Mhm.
and missing her more. And this is all coming from Jesse. And
Yeah.
Jesse goes and he interviews Alice and her mother. And
Yeah.
they're like, there was like Michelle made this all up. We don't even know what she's talking about. And I think the documentary's doing this, and we're getting all this to kind of show us Michelle is not a reliable narrator. And
Absolutely.
that's important.
I would agree with you, and it's really interesting because on the scripted version of this,
Mhm.
they go hard into this Alice thing, and
Mm.
they really portray it as a romantic relationship, and, um, I felt for Alice and her mom,
Well, and you don't
because it's
do, like, is Alice denying it in front of her mom? Like, you
well,
you just
that's
don't
the
know
whole
what's at
thing
play
too
here.
because yeah, I don't know if you saw it on there that, her mom made them stop communicating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that to me I mean, that's tough, and again, Michelle's someone who doesn't feel like she has any friends, and you have this person that you finally have a connection with, and they're taken
Mhm.
from you.
Mhm.
I think that's a big piece too.
So Jesse says, "I had empathy for Michelle because she makes up things because she's incredibly lonely."
I
I
agree,
agree with
and
that.
I
I
mean,
agree with that.
it's hard to see how lonely somebody can be like that. She was sad and alone, and just the constant reaching out with nothing. That's tough.
So Jesse says in the last few weeks of Conrad's life, he would text, "I'm doing it tonight." And then the next day he would be alive. Like I talked about earlier. He did this a lot.
It was a lot, you guys, like every day for a week there.
So we see closing arguments and prosecution really hammering home on that text to Sam Boardman. And, I fucking told him to get back in and that whole thing. And the defense is arguing like, this is a suicide. It's not a homicide. And Conrad had free will and Michelle was not a danger to him, whatever.
Right.
But the prosecution says she had a virtual presence. The community is very divided on this. The producers went out into the community and people are like, oh yeah, my husband and I have different takes on this. My wife and I have different takes on this. My partner and I are fighting over it. Like everybody had an opinion and it was all mixed.
Yes. And I know the one lady that was interviewed in her car.
Yeah.
Sunglasses. I loved her accent.
So the judge takes 2 days to decide this, and he finds her guilty because he claims that she had a self-created duty to care for him when he exited the vehicle. So she knew that the truck was harmful, and the court finds that when one's action creates a life-threatening risk to another, there's duty to take steps to alleviate the risk. Knowing the condition of the truck, she took no action, and her failure to act when she had a self-created duty is manslaughter. So what they're saying basically is it's not what she said and did, it's what she didn't do.
It's what she didn't do. It was the failure to intervene.
So she is guilty. And okay, so I have a little note here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this now. Okay. We don't know that he got out of the truck.
Yes, it's all conjecture.
The whole verdict rests on her telling him to get back in the truck. The only evidence we have for this are Michelle's texts to a friend, and she is a unreliable narrator at best.
Yes. It's when you think about that at the end of the day, that's what it fell on. I mean, because she's not reliable narrator at all.
And what I'm interested in is like, and maybe, I don't know, if anybody out there knows, let me know. Like, has Michelle ever talked about this and said, no, I didn't, like I made that up? No, or like, can we just ask her if it's true? And what will she say? I don't know.
I know, right? She keeps a very low profile since her release. I mean, she's going to have to. And I wonder if she will ever speak on this.
I don't know. Her probation's over, so she now can make money off of her story. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting.
So it's also important to note that she waited 2 months before she disclosed that information to Sam Boardman. So, Jesse kind of alludes to like, was the attention fading from her friends,
Are we say yes? And you can't deny that because she has a pattern of doing things like that.
She consistently lied, and they bring this up.
Yeah.
She had at one point said she never had sex, but then like couldn't keep her own lies straight. So had to literally ask her friends, well, what did I tell you?
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
Then she told a friend that Conrad had raped her essentially, which the way they framed it in the documentary, I don't know if this is true, is that they weren't even together enough for that to happen. So
yeah, because they only were physically around each other a handful of times, like 5 times was everybody's best guess. And I would be judging by their texts, I don't feel like they had really sexual contact. They seemed very like
it was like a fantasy thing almost.
And they never talked about anything like that at all.
They never talked sexual.
No, there's one time she sends like they play this word association.
I saw
that free word association game a lot. And one of them, she says like, fuck me. But that was it. And he barely acknowledged it. And then a couple of times when they exchange pictures, she tells him he's sexy and he tells her she's beautiful. But even when they talk about hanging out, there's never any conversation that's sexual in nature at all. So
interesting.
Just food for thought.
So, her friends don't believe her. And Jesse
Mhm,
says, if you look at the text between her and her friends, there's
mhm.
kind of a vibe that, oh,
Yeah.
everybody knows Michelle doesn't really tell the truth. Like Michelle has a complicated relationship with the truth.
Yes.
So the DA never brought this up. The
Yeah.
DA, and this is her lawyer, Michelle's lawyer talking
Yeah.
now. The DA never brought this up, but the DA made a case that she's a liar who cannot
Mhm.
be trusted. So yet the verdict, depends on this, but yet you spent all this time making a case that she's not reliable.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, that's a fair point.
And I wrote, there's sort of a Mandela effect around the fact that Michelle texted Conrad, get back in the truck, when she never did. Those texts do not exist.
Yes, there really is, and,
Hmm.
everybody thought that because that is the way it was portrayed in the media. Those were the
Yeah.
headlines that were everywhere.
So her sentencing hearing, she's sentenced to 15 months,
Mhm.
but her sentence is suspended until all of her appeals go through the Massachusetts court system only.
Yeah.
The prosecution wanted 7 to 12 years.
Yeah.
And in the end, Michelle Carter served 11 months and was released in 2020 on good behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
11 months, so
So that's it. So do you think the judge made the right call?
I think this was really compelling, and I don't know. Okay. Not to I have so many thoughts on this.
I know, me
I
too.
think it's hard because I think both of them were not doing well with their mental health at that time,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think they were kind of like fire and gasoline for each other,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that in my mind, the way I saw it is Conrad looked at Michelle as someone that I think he realized he could tell this stuff to, and she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to tell anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and he could just vent this dark stuff to her,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just gonna take it, and I think she's, like, in, like, that fantasy world she was kind of living in.
Yeah.
I it's hard for me because reading the conversations, there is a definite switch in tone, right?
Mhm, mhm.
She's trying to talk him into it, and then she just all of a sudden goes hard the other way.
Could a little bit of that be, because I really struggled with this, right?
I do too.
Could a little bit of that have been like, "You've worn me down. Like, fine. If you want to do this, let's do it."
That's the dichotomy in my mind. Was it
Yeah.
that? Did he finally break her down where she's like, "Fine, just do it," or
Yeah.
was she in this situation where she was kind of cultivating this idea about the, like, sympathy from the boyfriend, and she had already started saying things to her
Mhm,
friends, and she was kind of creating this hole for herself that she couldn't get out of,
mhm,
or
mhm.
just really wanted the sympathy, and, when you tie it back to what he said where she knows that Conrad's a real person, but he's, like, also kind of this figment to her,
Yeah,
so
and
there's no consequences. I don't know what I
yes,
think. I
and
legitimately don't know what I think.
he had threatened this so many times and
Exactly.
didn't do it. I have here on July 9th at almost 11 p.m., he says to her, "Okay, turning on the generator now." She's
I
like,
know.
"Okay." He says, "Oh, wait, I can't get it started." She's like, "What? What?" And then he goes, "Just kidding. I'm going to die now." And they're talking, and he's like, "Should
Yes.
take 20 to 30 minutes, da 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 da." And then he doesn't text her again till 10 o'clock the next morning.
Yes.
And it's
There's a
just
lot of
like,
that.
"Hi." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my
"How are
God."
you? How'd you sleep?" It's nuts. It's crazy.
So
There's a lot of
there's
that.
But there's also this weird tone that I picked up on that emerges where he's like, "I'm doing it." And she's like, "Okay." And then he does it. And she's like, "I knew you wouldn't do it." And he's like, "I
Yes.
knew you would say that." There's almost like this, "I'm daring you to do it"
Totally.
kind of
I
thing.
totally agree with you. It's weird. It becomes a game at some point.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
they're baiting each other, and
Mhm.
because she's like, "You're not really gonna do it. I knew you weren't gonna do it." And then that whole weird angle she takes where she's like, I feel like an idiot. You're making me look like an idiot now because I believed you that you were
Yeah.
gonna do this, and I know you're not actually gonna do it." And it's and then but then I don't know if you noticed towards the end of their conversations before he dies, he's really not wanting he's having a lot of second thoughts, and he's really starting to think about the impact it's going to have on his family, and
Yeah.
he's really struggling with that.
Yeah.
And she goes hard into, like,
I'm
They're
gonna
gonna be
take care of
alright.
your family.
Yeah, I'll take
Mhm.
care of your family, and she's
Mhm.
even sending him articles then about how, like, families will be alright, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, they'll get over it," and she's like, "My grandpa was sad when my grandma died, but he got over it. They'll get over it."
Mhm.
And when he's having those doubts and second thoughts, she's doing a lot to talk him back into it,
And
and I struggled with that.
it's so hard to not look at this through the lens of a 40-something-year-old woman, right? Because that's what
100%
I
agree.
am.
Yes.
So, like, part of me is like,
It's hard to take
okay,
that, yeah.
all of that crossed the line, in my
All of it.
opinion, and
Mhm.
all of that was too much. And she should,
Absolutely.
if he was wearing her down and da 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 da, she should have just said, I can't be in this relationship anymore. But like it goes both ways, right?
Yes.
Like if she has the autonomy to say, okay, I'm done with this, hang up the phone, then he did too when she was
Yes.
telling him to do it. So it's
Yes.
like, it's
It's
just
again that
this,
cat and mouse.
oh,
Well, and did
yes.
you catch there was parts where they were talking and it was they had kind of argued a little bit because he hadn't done it and she was mad and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just not gonna talk to you anymore. I'll leave you alone." And then she's
Mhm.
like, "No, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, I need you." And then it's this sad and it's like I think I mean, he knew she had her insecurity. She was very transparent with him about them.
Mhm.
And they knew each other's buttons to push and
Mhm.
it's just and again, reminding ourselves that these are teenagers, and I was saying that to Mitchell, I was like, "We are looking at this through the lens of people who have lived a lot of life. We're not looking at this through a couple of
Yeah.
17, 18-year-olds that haven't."
Well, and my thing too is, and again, I'm not blaming the family, but
Oh,
like, did the system fail this kid? Like, if he had 4 to 5 suicide attempts, where is inpatient, long-term mental health support for this kid?
yes.
That's what he needed. He
He
needed a 6-month in-person program.
he desperately did, and I agree with you completely. This is a pattern in his life that is, like, frequent.
And just like I don't like when people blame the parents, like, so then should we put all that blame on a 17-year-old girl?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
she's in the soup, definitely, but, like
100%. And, and it's so hard because it is easy to say she should have gotten somebody to
Mhm,
she should have called somebody,
mhm,
and but, them they were not looking at this through a lens of a healthy place mentally, either of them were, and,
I
she's
agree.
someone who also struggles with this,
Yeah.
and I so she kind of they both understand that stigma, and I think some of that was at play too. I really d This is a hard one for me, Amy. This I don't know at the end of the day what I would have done.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I think I'm gonna say this, I think the judge got it exactly right.
Yes, because
I think
she
she needed a guilty verdict because what she did was over the line, in my opinion.
100%.
So, she needed a guilty verdict, but I don't think she should have sat in jail for 7 years.
I agree.
I think a
Um,
guilty verdict with a light sentence was the exact right answer here. Kinda pleases everybody.
yes, and
Yeah.
it helps set the precedent, right? Because this is something especially with technology the way it is, these types of situations are not going to go away, they're gonna get more complicated.
Can you
And,
see my husband plowing the driveway behind
oh,
us?
yep, I do see is he having a blast?
Probably.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But I felt that the judge got this right.
Yeah, and he worded it very well. He spoke very
I
eloquently.
agree.
I thought it was really interesting, and I liked how he was he said, "I'm not just gonna say guilty, not guilty. I'm going to explain myself."
Yep.
And
Yep.
did you catch, as he's explaining it, like, I think Jesse said if he was doing this for, like, the climactic experience, he did it because
Yeah.
it was suspenseful, and you can
Yeah, and
tell
you
at
could
one point she
go ahead.
thinks he's gonna say that she's not guilty, and she's
Yeah.
crying, like,
Yeah.
relief crying, you can
Yeah.
tell, and
And
then
she's looking at her lawyer and he's looking at her and
they look
he
excited.
yeah, and then it's like I do though. I think, I don't envy anybody in this
No.
case. I mean, and
No.
it's easy for us to look at Conrad Roy, again with the lens of experience and say, this kid really should be here today.
He
This
should.
kid really had a lot going for him. He was, all the things, but like That's what mental illness is, right? Like, you don't know
Exactly.
you have all the things.
Exactly. Exactly that. And,
Mhm.
you know, it's just it's so sad for so many reasons. This is such a sad situation. And, you know, it's not like she's ever going to live a normal life, right? Like we
No.
just said, she's going
No.
to have to kind of be low
Mhm.
profile person forever. I mean,
I will say that in 2019, her lawyers appealed to the Supreme Court
mhm,
and they denied the case and upheld the conviction. And here's what they wrote. I have just their little paragraph.
I'm curious.
In our view, the coercive quality of that final directive, the get back in the car, which we don't know if it happened,
Just a hypothetical.
was sufficient in the specific circumstances of this case to support a finding of probable cause. Those circumstances included the defendant's virtual presence at the time of the suicide, the previous constant pressure the defendant had put on the victim, and his already delicate mental state. There was ample evidence to establish probable cause that the defendant's conduct was wanton or reckless under either a subjective or an objective standard.
Mm,
The grand jury could have found that an ordinary person under the circumstances would have realized the gravity of the danger posed by telling the victim, who was mentally fragile, predisposed to suicidal inclinations, and in the process of killing himself, to get back in the truck, filling with carbon monoxide, and just do it. And significantly, the grand jury also could have found that the defendant, the victim's girlfriend, with whom he was in constant and perpetual contact on a subjective basis, knew that she had some control over his actions. Do you think
well,
she knew that she had control over his actions?
no. And okay, that's because he didn't you in those conversations, wouldn't you agree, he's not terribly nice to her,
He's not
and
some
he
I didn't
doesn't
get the impression that he was submissive to her in any way.
at all.
No,
No, he
no.
seems to I mean, she seems to be the one I mean, obviously, she's much more invested in the relationship than he is. You can
Mhm,
completely tell that from the
mhm.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's not like he was hanging on what she said during those
yeah,
conversations.
yeah. And
So
I'm
that is a
not
very interesting no, yeah, this is a it's
it's you go
complicated,
back and
and
forth, right?
you
But
do, and it's
as a parent, I would want her to pay for this. That's
yes,
just my
I get it.
emotional
Yep.
knee-jerk reaction.
Mhm.
There is not a world in which I would not think about this from an emotional level if God forbid it
Yes.
was my child. There's not a
Oh,
world in which I could
yeah.
set that aside and say, let's look at the legal precedent.
Oh,
So, like, I
absolutely,
get
yeah,
it. I
right?
get it.
No,
Yeah.
totally, I totally agree with you.
So Lynn Roy brought a $4.2 million civil suit against
The Carter family.
Kata,
Caddis.
and it has been, quote, resolved,
Hmm.
which probably means it was
Settled out of
settled.
court.
Mhm. Lynn is also lobbying for Conrad's law to be
Mhm.
passed, and it would impose a punishment of up to 5 years for anyone convicted of pressuring another to die by suicide. Massachusetts is currently one of only 8 US states that does not criminalize suicide coercion.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. As of August 2023, the bill is still awaiting passage. I tried to find out if this is passed. I don't think it
I
is.
don't think it is either because I was looking at it too. There's nothing
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. So that's it. That's our coverage.
Well, I wanna hear what you said you had stuff from the Reddits.
No, it was just a lot of people from that community
Okay.
weighing in, talking about how the community, and you and I've talked about this,
Yeah.
is, not really a warm place for mental health
Okay.
advocacy, if you
Okay.
will. Like, it's just
Yeah.
kind of not in the
Okay.
culture, but
Yeah.
also how some sources that, didn't want to give their names or be identified were saying, like, the father side of the family is a problem.
Mm.
Like, it's a problem over there. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Ugh.
Mhm. Guys, there are, if you want to dig into this case, there are a lot of resources out there. You can
Mhm.
read the whole text messages, but just know that we kind of gave you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, it is not this is not one of those cases that's easy to come down on either side of. It's so dynamic and, it's a good piece of conversation though. I
I
think
agree. It's one of these cases, and we don't see them a lot, where it's like what she did was morally reprehensible.
Yes.
But is it illegal?
Yes.
Like you're in that gray area. It's a gray
Yes.
area
And
all around.
it opens up conversations that I think, Mitchell and I were talking about this last night after we watched it, and we were kind of debating it and everything. And it's like, it's conversations I have with teenagers, right? Like, are you like, it's so hard to know, where do you cross the line, like with privacy and everything, right? And,
Yeah.
wanting to not pry, but ask and be present. And it's tough. And
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's
And
hard
this is a
because,
time too where, it's 2014, it's 12
yes.
years ago.
Mhm.
T- what we know about tech is evolving by the minute.
Oh, yeah,
So
12
like
years ago.
I don't think parents really understood like, oh, I've got to keep eyes
Yes,
on this. Like
absolutely.
cyber stalking and stuff like that was
Mhm.
just kind of happening.
Yes, and, in the I think things like Snapchat were in their infancy, and,
Mhm. Mhm.
all these things that, and, that's before TikTok. That's before, I think that's before TikTok, right?
Yeah, there was okay, so
What was that one thing?
I remember there was a I did a paper on it in grad school. Megan Meyer was a girl who was cyberbullied
Okay.
by it turned out to be the girl's mother who
Oh
was
god.
posing as the girl, and she died
Oh,
by
these
suicide,
mothers.
and that was in 2006. So that's only 8 years before that. So we're
Okay.
just kinda starting to get into, okay, people can have a virtual
Yes.
presence over you. We're just
Absolutely.
kinda learning that at this time.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes, and, and I feel for teenagers now. I'm thankful I did not grow up with social media. I
No,
was having this conversation with my friends, when you didn't get invited to the party
you
or the
didn't know about it.
sleepover, you didn't have it crammed in your face and
No.
down your throat and have everybody just
Yeah,
talking
it's
about how great
tough.
it was. It's
It's
tough,
tough.
and
Yeah,
I feel for everybody in this
yeah.
case. It's not
So,
easy.
I hope you guys think we did okay on this one. It was a hard one to navigate and a
It
hard
sure
one to
was.
talk about.
It was, yeah.
But, at the end of the day, I keep thinking about that professor with that soup analogy, and there's a
Yes,
lot of reasons why Conrad Roy isn't here anymore, and it's devastating
it is
because he
devastating.
was just a bright light and
Yeah.
gone. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
and just a quick reminder, 988 is the
Mhm.
suicide and crisis helpline. Text, call, whatever,
Always.
somebody's there.
Yep.
So, all right, Kyla, thank you for joining me on this wild ride.
Yeah, this was a wild ride. You're
I'm
welcome.
glad
Thank
we
you.
did this one though. This has
Me
been
too.
on my list
Mhm.
since I started Murder She Watched. Like I've always wanted to get into this one.
It's heavy, but it's
Mhm.
important.
I agree. I
Yep.
agree. All right, guys, thank you so much. If you haven't already, if you think we're doing a good job and we've earned it, can you please, please, please leave
Yeah.
us a 5-star review? It helps other people find the show.
Yes.
And, text this episode to somebody who might enjoy it. I mean, it's not super
Yeah.
enjoyable, but hopefully it's
Well, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Kyla, thank you again.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you guys soon. Bye.